Hey everybody, welcome to Love and Reload, the voice of the relocation industry. I'm your host, Ben Cross, and I am blessed and honored to bring a fabulous show today. We got a wonderful guest. Olivia Bahrami, the CEO and founder of Prime Communications, is going to be with us. She's going to be teaching us how to write RFPs, how to win business. She's even been winning business in COVID-19, which is fantastic. I think we could all use some more of that. But it's also about how to communicate with our customers in a way that tells our story. So very excited to hear about that. I'm super passionate about it. So I can't wait to bring her out. Before we do that, let's go ahead and talk about the book. So the book club book of the month is Take Control of Your Job Search, written by Lauren Herring, friend of the show, CEO of Impact Group, wrote this wonderful book. This is her second book, and it's called Take Control of Your Job Search. So a lot of us who might be between roles right now might love this book. So if you yourself are between roles, or if you know someone who is, and don't we all, go ahead and get this book, recommend this book. And if you'd like to join our discussion group, I believe it's August 31st, let me know. Direct message me, direct message Janet Turner, the producer. Shout out to Janet. What's up, Janet? Go ahead and direct message us and let us know you want to be a part of it. Lauren Herring herself, the author, has pledged to give away books to everybody that participates in the live book discussion. So we've already got a couple people signed up. So let us know if you want to be a part of that. Also, we do have a wonderful sponsor this week named OnQ. If you don't know about OnQ, you need to go check them out. And this is the best way to do it. They're actually going ahead and doing a $500 giveaway right now at the $500 OnQ Summer Games, they're calling it. It actually is over Thursday evening. So get in now. $500 first prize, $250 second prize, and $100 third prize. And all you got to do is go on to their website. I got a little tiny URL, tinyurl.com/love500. You can go on, upload a picture of a move, and you can enter to win $500 and get to meet basketball legend Chris Mullin, Hall of Famer. If he hasn't already been elected a Dream Teamer, fantastic. So anyway, shout out to OnQ. We always love to hook you up with free stuff here on Love and Reload. Keep it fun, keep it valuable. And without further ado, I want to welcome to the show Olivia Bakarami, CEO at Prime Communications. How are you, Olivia?
Hey, I'm good. How are you, Ben?
I am so happy to have you today because communication, corporate communication, RFP, proposal writing, all that stuff. I'm a geek for that stuff. I love that stuff. And I'm so happy to have people, someone here who actually understands it, can help us understand it. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. First of all, as we're, getting people in here and everything. And by the way, if you're watching right now, go ahead, leave a comment, put something in the comments, give Olivia a shout out, put a little heart or a little like down there. And let's go through and check in before we get into the content here. Let's see, we've got some people checking in. Hey, Olivia and Ben. This is so funny. So when I read, hey, Olivia and Ben, my wife's name is Olivia.
Oh, cool.
So
That's a nice name.
Yeah, I'm like, I feel like I got to go do the dishes or something. I feel like she's going to get on me about something. Kelly Guerin, hi, Ben and Olivia. Hope you both are having a great day. Kelly out in Phoenix. What's up, Kelly? Francine Dresty, hi, Ben, Janet, and Olivia. Excited to hear the information today. Checking in from the loo. And for you in Britain, that is not the bathroom. That is St. Louis. Sandra Clary, hi, all. Looking forward to the insights into RFPs in 2020 and beyond. Seriously, I'm just going to take it there. I'm going to ask you the first question. I mean, RFPs, they boggle people's minds, they confound and perplex. And before we get into how to master them, do you see them changing going forward into the future?
Great question. So my answer to that is I'm going to use COVID-19 as a perfect example. During COVID-19, I've seen in the past, since February of this year, I've seen that I supported with my own clients, 30 plus proposals, 30 plus RFPs.
Wow.
So to put that into perspective, it's been a very busy time. RMCs and mobility service providers have been very busy with RFPs. And I thought initially when COVID-19 hit that we would have a slowdown. In fact, I've actually seen an influx, which is quite shocking to me, because you would think that organizations don't know if they should go ahead with the RFP process, if they should maybe put it on hold or revisit it at a later time. And it looks like most of them, not all, but most of them have definitely continued rolling out RFPs. In fact, in 1 month, I believe, I want to say it was April, I think I supported with 5 or 6 RFPs.
Yeah.
So it's been busy. Yeah.
So I got to ask, because you're right, because it's a little counterintuitive, right? You think, okay, there's a lot of uncertainty. We don't know what's happening in the world. We don't know the future of mobility, much less our program. So why do you think that RFPs are so prevalent right now? And do you think, well, why do you think they're so prevalent right now?
It's not going to stop. I think organizations are using this lull, right? This lull for some organizations to take the time they need to go out to market, see what's out there, evaluate their options. Perhaps they've had some issues with their existing providers, our RMCs or mobility providers. And so they're using this time to see if there are other RMCs that are willing to give the type of support that they expect, not only for the mobility organization itself and not only for the HR team, but the relocating employees as well. So in fact, I've seen that's been a common theme in RFPs is what type of service delivery model can you provide that is different? What kind of value proposition can you offer our mobility team, internal mobility team, in relocating employees? And some organizations, some RMCs have been really successful at that. They've really capitalized on the opportunity to really go above and beyond the call of duty to show and demonstrate to their clients and their relocating employees the values that they can provide on an ongoing basis, not just pre-COVID-19, but during and post. And some organizations have failed miserably, to be quite frank with you. And it shows. And I think that's one of the reasons why I've seen quite an influx in RFPs, as I said. And so it's interesting. I didn't think it would be this busy of a period, but it has been explosive.
Wow. I want to get into all that. I'm so fascinated by this whole process, the way our industry buys, and oh gosh, I can't wait to get into all this. We got some great comments coming in. Love to hear your thoughts. Please leave your questions. If you have pressing questions about RFPs or comments about things you've seen, or any questions for Olivia, or if you just want to vent because these damn RFPs have got you up a creek right now, let us know. Let's see here. We got Molly Feldman checking in from Jacksonville. Hey, Molly, good to see you. Simon Johns, hi, Ben, hot and sticky from the UK. Simon, Jamie does the weather, okay? Simon, don't come on here with the weather, all right? That's the Jamie thing. Stick to the gin and tonic, Simon. Love you, man. Drew Phillips, good afternoon, Ben and Olivia from Drew Phillips of Sterling Lexicon in sunny California. Hey, Drew, good to see you. Hey, my dad's back. Great name, right? I know, right? My dad's making an Olivia comment. Hey, Dad, good to see you back. People were worried about my dad because he was on a lot and then he wasn't on anymore. And he's got the bald head. And everybody's like, is your dad okay? My dad's fine. He's doing too much yard work, but he's okay. Don't worry about my dad. Stephen Gray. Hey, Olivia and Ben, go Canada from Toronto. Now
Stephen actually lives in, sorry, just a comment about Stephen.
Yeah.
He actually lives in the same city as I do, in Mississauga. So, hey, Stephen.
Mississauga. So help us from the U.S. who don't know where Mississauga is. Where's Mississauga?
So Mississauga is about 20 minutes away from Toronto. So not very far at all. We're part of the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area. So we can kind of say we're Toronto based, but we're the suburbs. We're in the suburbs here in Mississauga.
Now, were you born and raised in Toronto?
No, I was actually born in Romania. That's where I'm from initially. I was born there and I immigrated to Canada with my family when I was 10 years old. So I've been in Canada for most of my life.
Wow. So you actually have firsthand experience with global mobility. And has that, and it's so fascinating because this is a recurring theme when I speak to people. They all have this story of their own mobility. How has that informed the way that that you've, your career and maybe the work you do today?
It's given me a greater appreciation for what I do. It's helped me realize that, and this, I absolutely love this, we are more alike than we are different. No matter where we're from, no matter the color of our skin, the way we look, our titles, all of that stuff doesn't matter. What matters is that we are more alike than we are different. And I'm very much a huge fan of that. And that's how I approach all of my relationships, my business relationships, my personal relationships. I really feel that we have more in common than we have what sets us apart.
I love that. I think it's Maya Angelou said that and wrote that,
Yes.
and it's fantastic. And give Olivia a heart right there, because that one got me a little going there. That one's got me a little tear in my eye. No, but it's so beautiful. And Apple, talking about corporate communications, bringing this full circle, Apple used that, I believe, in their, I want to say it was like iPhone commercials or something, and it was talking about the camera and showing pictures of everybody, and that ad touched me in such a deep way. I mean, we're still thinking about it. How does that show us what the power of corporate communications and branding can be?
So what you're referring to, Ben, I believe, is storytelling. Because when we put together storytelling as a way, as a communications method, we have much more success. We have more success getting business, securing business, retaining business, securing relationships with our partners, with our vendors, with our clients, even me with my own clients. That's something that I really focus on, is the storytelling aspect, because storytelling is a great way to bring people together. It removes down the barriers, right? And so when I share a conversation or a comment that you can relate to, it just brings everybody in. It makes them feel good. It's a method of selling emotion, which I like to use when I create my communications for my clients. And I really recommend that everybody, whether you're a proposal writer, communication specialist, whatever it is that you do, even email communications, when you're drafting an email communication to a client, to a friend, to a partner, to a colleague, think about evoking emotion, because emotion helps us to have a real connection with somebody. So storytelling, emotion, very important in building that together. One more thing I want to say. When we're talking about communications in general, and this can be applied to anything, think about the before state of a client or a prospect. What is their before state? How are they feeling? Are they frustrated? Are they stressed? Are there relocating employees dissatisfied with the service? What are the issues that they're facing? And then think strategically and creatively about how to bring them into an after state. The after state of positivity, happiness, perhaps less stress on the relocating employees, less stress on the mobility managers. All of these things we have to think about in order to really bring together that story that we're selling. Because when we're working with clients, we are selling a story. We're not just talking about how great our organizations are, because in Relo, a lot of the services are the same. But it doesn't come down to that. It comes down to your value proposition. How can you engage your clients and their relocating employees in an exceptional experience, a seamless experience that they just rave about? That's what you want.
I'm eating this up. I'm eating this up right now. As you're saying this, I'm like, my heart is welling right now, because I totally feel you in my soul right now, what you're saying, because I've written those proposals. I've seen the crap, and then I've seen gold,
Yes.
And I know when it's done right, it can be like reading a novel where you're just moved, where you're watching the Apple commercial where we are more alike than we're unalike, and you want to go change the world. Or it can be like, this is garbage and it's going directly into my round file over here under my desk. So
I'm so glad you said that, because that's so true. And a lot of people feel that way. And one thing I pride myself in is being very transparent with my clients. So I will tell them, this is no good. This comes way too short of what you're capable of providing. So why not focus on what you can actually deliver, your key differentiators? Don't sell features, my friends. Do not sell features, sell differentiators, sell the benefits, sell unique advantages.
And take those benefits and weave them into a story to tell people how, how it actually applies and what it looks like when it comes all together. And so we've kind of talked about what the after state kind of looks like, and we've talked about what a golden kind of RFP does for people, or proposal does for people. Where are most companies at, or what do you see more commonly when you enter an organization? What's the baseline there? What are we as an industry generally putting out?
Very good question. Yeah, very good question. So it differs. I've seen some RMCs that do exceptional work, very impressive approach that they take to not only qualifying an RFP, which is very important, but actually having a strategic discussion around what is important. What are the pain points? How can we align our organization to the client's pain points? And then I've seen other organizations who just do the cut and paste and say, that's enough. It's not enough, because the RFP can make you or break you. And a lot of times, in more cases than not, the RFP, if successful, will take you to the presentation stage. I've seen some clients land clients from an RFP. They didn't even have to present. They were so impressed with the level of quality provided in the proposal and the additional documentation and all the other fancy stuff that they said, wow, you're the only choice for us. And so I would say, Ben, to answer your question, the majority, I would say maybe 70% of RMCs and mobility providers have a huge opportunity to improve, a huge area of opportunity to position themselves much better. And then the rest, the minority, have it nailed down pretty well.
This is fascinating. I love this. We're going to get into some comments and questions here. I want to put a quick audience poll. We've got 46 people right now watching on LinkedIn. Got quite a following, Olivia. And we've got 13 people on Facebook. This is great. Yeah, people are engaged too. So I want to ask the audience right now, what are the biggest challenges you face when responding to RFPs? So what are the biggest challenges you face when responding to RFPs? Leave it in the comments. Let us know your woes and your angst around RFPs. And I want to actually question Olivia with these and present these to her and ask her for some advice on these. So go ahead and leave that. And we've got one here, a comment, and this actually takes off on something you had said before. And this is from Gary Connerly. And one of the things you mentioned just before is about qualifying RFPs. Which RFPs do we respond to? And Gary says, really great advice. Learn this the hard way. Also learn that there is a time to not respond to an RFP. This is counterintuitive. Somebody asks you to quote the business and you turn it away. How do you know when to do that? Why would you ever do that?
Very good question, Gary, and thank you for submitting that question to us. So this is where teams need to become strategic. It's not just about the sales lead or the business development person gets an RFP or gets a lead and says, hey, comes to Olivia or another proposer and says, hey, I have this opportunity. Okay, tell me about it. Have you qualified it? Have you reviewed the RFP? You really have to take a strategic approach and really qualifying it, not only from the sense of, is it a good opportunity, a mutually good opportunity? It's not, it can't just be a good beneficial opportunity for the client. Is it a good opportunity for your organization? Do you have the people on staff? Are you qualified enough to deliver those services? What kind of profit analysis have you ran? If you've even done that, have you conducted a bid go, no go process? And this will differ from RMC to RMC, from mobility service provider to mobility service provider. So it's a little bit difficult to say. So I'm going to give you some of the details that I know and have seen in my experience. But the other thing that people forget oftentimes is the proposal writer or the marketing function. They're oftentimes seen as an administrative person. My friends, they're not an administrative person. They're a key collaborative source in responding to RFPs. In fact, the way I view them is a business partner for the stakeholders that are responding to the RFP, whether that's someone at an executive level, a VP, the sales lead. So there are a lot of answers to this question, Gary. I'm not sure if this is very helpful, but there are a few different things that you have to take account for. And be ask yourself hard questions. Ask yourself difficult questions. Don't just say, yes, we got this RFP, or it's a good opportunity, let's just go for it, because it could be a waste of time. And so when you don't put the right effort from start to finish, from the point of receiving the RFP to finalizing and submitting it, it'll cost you time, it'll cost you resources, and you'll probably be pissed off, to be quite frank.
Well, and what you said a couple of things that just really stuck out to me. One, you talked about the people that we utilize in our organizations to respond to these, right? And I've seen this firsthand where you know, and it's the same thing we do with our social media people, by the way. We get somebody out of college who knows their way around a PowerPoint, knows their way around a little desktop publishing within Microsoft Word. Maybe they know their way around Instagram, right? We say, okie dokie, you're the new social media manager. Okie dokie, you're the new, you know, marketing specialist, right? And I want you to go, and I want you to go make a pretty RFP. But they can dress it up, and they might make it look nice with the right fonts and the right colors and things like that, some of the good artwork and things. But if they can't tell the story, to your point, they have to be subject matter experts. They can't just, it's not a plug and play thing. It's, so I think that's one mistake. And then the other mistake, to Gary's point about a time to respond and not respond, I heard an RMC friend of mine say this, and I thought it was so, I thought about this to this day. And he said, if we don't know why we were invited to this RFP, we're not going to respond. If this lands on our desk and we haven't put in a year of legwork and, you know, discovery and whining and dining, and if we don't know the person who's making the call, and if we don't know the culture of the company, and we don't know the existing problems that are already present, we're not going to respond. Because then another RMC friend of mine told me, he's like, because we're just going to be column fodder. That's like column fodder. I've heard of cannon fodder. What's column fodder? Column fodder is when you're just another name in a column to fill up the 3 or 5 or 10 that they need to go to bid in order to qualify the bid and say that they've gone out to the marketplace, but they already know who the 1 or 2 is that they're going to be choosing from. And if you don't know who that 1 or 2 is, it's not you. So that's when you don't.
I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that. I've seen many instances where a client of mine or a previous employer would say, you know, a couple of days before the RFP is due, oh my gosh, we just got this RFP. Do you think you can get it done? And I look at them like, why weren't you involved from the beginning? So that leads me to believe that they're not a contender. And so why should we then put in the effort for the client? It has to be that, you know, this sometimes shows you what type of client they may be. If they don't give you the type of attention, the type of involvement that you deserve as an organization, don't waste your time.
That's interesting. So I want to ask your opinion on this, and we got Gary here. I'm going to ask you your opinion on this, and I'd love to see we got people coming in and commenting about all sorts of things here too. I'm going to take you down, Gary, because I want to keep the poll up here. Let's see here. I want to know, what is your biggest challenges when responding to RFPs? But you mentioned something about timeliness.
Yeah.
And so often I see RFPs come out of nowhere. They could even be rebidding from an existing client, right? And they're like, whoa, they just went out to bid. And they gave us a week or a week and a half, you know, or 15 days to respond to this 50-page RFP. And is that a good sign, a bad sign, no sign? What do you read into that if somebody only got a week or 2 weeks to respond?
I hate to say this, but that's the norm.
That is the norm.
That's the norm. So what I've seen is 2 weeks is the standard. Anything less than is tight. It's very tight. And then you have to factor in the other opportunities that you're also working on. And how large those RFPs are, how complex they are. You know, is it a portal submission through Ariba? Is it a Excel spreadsheet that you have to go into and populate all your responses? So I would say it's been better in the past, where you get about 3 weeks. But the norm, from what I've seen in the 10 plus years that I've been doing RFPs, is 2 weeks is kind of the sweet spot. Anything less, it's challenging, unless it's maybe a request for information, which may be much quicker to put together, because typically RFIs, meaning our request for information, don't require pricing.
So please tell me the difference, because this is something that baffled me. You got RFIs, you got RFQs, you got RFPs, you got RFX, you got O's. I don't know. I mean, pretty much any consonant or vowel you could put out. What are the difference between the RF blanks?
Yes. So RFP is the complete or comprehensive document, meaning it's comprised of questionnaire, of capabilities, all sorts of topics and headings. And it also asks for references, typically, and pricing. They'll also ask you for attachments. They'll ask you to describe your various processes, service delivery model, global footprint, supply chain management. I mean, I could go on forever. Every RFP is different from the next, right? There's no RFP that is the same, although I've seen very often clients in the same industry will use the same type of format or the same questionnaire. And then I think, oh, I remember seeing this. Oh yeah, this is from this RFP. So it's kind of a nice way to reference back some other RFPs, but I hope that answers your question.
So what comes first? Is it RFI? I mean,
RFI, yes.
Operations here?
Sorry, yes. So typically, if we're thinking transactional services or products only, you're going to see a request for quote, which is RFQ. Correct. RFI is, we're just trying to understand what kind of services you have, what kind of capabilities you have. And then the RFI, request for information, is used as a way to shortlist RMCs and service mobility providers to the RFP, because some organizations, particularly the bigger ones, this is what I've seen, of course, I can only speak from my experience, is that they will spend time going through the RFI because they want to cut out organizations that they're not interested in pursuing something with. And then when they get to the RFP, maybe you have top 3 RMCs or mobility service providers that they want to gather more information from, get pricing, get references, maybe even do a demo prior to the presentation. So it looks a little bit different, but I would say the RFI is typically first. Although a lot of times, some organizations, they just go straight to the RFP. And they can have, up to 10 RMCs, which I'm not even sure how they sit through documents of content and just flip through. And yeah.
How big are okay, so that brings up a great next question. And please continue leaving your comments and questions here. We are going to get to them in the second half hour here in about 3 minutes. But you talked about the length, right? And I remember I've responded to 65-page RFPs and never even got a response back.
Yeah.
I remember.
That's common.
Is it common? Because I thought that was the most ridiculously inconsiderate thing I ever seen in my entire life. You're going to send me a 65-page document. I put my heart and soul into it, and you don't even give me a response back?
So that I'm really glad you brought that up, Ben, because sometimes
murder somebody.
Organizations will offer a debrief, but not always. They should. So that's your responsibility. If you want to find out why you didn't make the cut, you're interested in improving your responses, your overall submission, because first impressions are very important when it comes to an RFP. So it's not just about the content, my friends. It's also about the overall look and feel, which we can talk about later. But I hope that answers your question. If you request a debrief, more than likely they will, take 30 minutes out of their day to give you the information that you're seeking. But most often they won't.
Well, unfortunately. I ask this guy every week for about 2 months. What's up? And I got the brush off for about 2 months, and I'm about to start calling people out. Anyway, we got some people checking in here. Casey Gale, what's up, Casey? Taylor Williams Smith.
Taylor, she's my girl.
Yep. What's up, Taylor? Good to see you. Ryan Watroba. Hi, Ben, Janet, and Olivia. Happy Tuesday from upstate New York. Hey, Janet, take a look in your mail there. I think Ryan might have sent you something. Anyway, Nathan. Hi, Ben and Olivia. Nathan and Scott.
Hey, Nathan.
No, Janet's like checking her email back there. No, check your actual mailbox, Janet. Jason, Aaron. Hello, Ben and Olivia. Happy Tuesday. What's up, Jason? Lena Rekdal.
Lena.
From Sweden. What's up, Lena?
Yes.
Janaína from Brazil. Look at this. I love seeing the, look at this. We got 3 in a row. We got Mena from Dubai. That's 3 continents in a, oh, look at
Love
that.
it. Love it.
So global. That's so wonderful. Got Rob Vespa singing Benny and the Jets over there. Happy August. Hey, Rob. Good to see you, buddy. Tim Quirk, hello from Western New York. Jamie Massler, hi, Ben Olivia. Cheers from blazing hot Mississippi. There it is. Yeah, hot coming. All right, James, good to see you, buddy. Christy Saluga, hi from Pittsburgh. It's good to see you, Christy. Oh, man. All right, let's see here. Gabby has a question for us, or a comment here. RFPs must be prevalent because COVID-19 has shown vulnerabilities in organizations' processes, supply chains, providers, etc. Interesting development for sure.
Spot on. Absolutely.
So before, I think we kind of both thought, well, it's due to the fact that, hey, we got a moment to breathe here. Let's do some of these strategic initiatives that maybe we've been thinking about, and we just haven't had time to do it. And Gabby's saying, well, actually, the supply chain now is under so much pressure. It's kind of, we stress test our supply chain and found out we have cracks all over the place, and we need to repair the infrastructure, and it might be time to go source some stuff. That's a fantastic point, Gabby.
Love it.
Love it. Love it. Let's take a break real quick for our to hear from our sponsor real quick. Let's do that and revisit on here, and then we're going to come back and answer all of these questions after about 10 seconds. Don't forget, that is the On Cue Summer Moving Games. Just upload a photo and enter to win $500 cash and a live video chat with basketball legend Chris Mullin. There's also a second place prize of $250 and a third place prize of $100. OnCue is a software and service company for moving and relocation companies looking to appointment set for leads. Enter to win $500. The URL's at the bottom, tinyurl.com/love500. I'd love to see somebody win that contest. That would be super cool. All right, let's go ahead and see some more of these questions we got going on here. All right, let's see. We've got Tim Rambo checking in from the sun. From the sun. That's how hot it is in Arizona right now. Seriously, Arizona looks like Mars. You ever notice that? Good survey question. Have you seen an increase or decrease in RFPs? All right, Dad wants to know, you seen an increase or decrease in RFPs, Olivia?
I think we discussed this earlier in the meeting or the live that we're having now, but yes, increase, definitely increase. For some of my clients, some of them have also seen an increase, but they've become more strategic around the opportunities that they've decided to pursue, which I absolutely live for. That's what organizations, when I say organizations, I mean RMCs and mobility providers, please, that's what we must do more and more. Let's focus on the opportunities that we can actually win.
Love it. Yeah, I had to. It's my dad. I got to ask the question. I mean, I know it doesn't make sense.
No problem.
Charles Beatty checking in. Roy Ramirez checking in. What's up, everybody? Sandra Clary. I foresee a need to refresh previous responses on duty of care, business continuity, safety, cleanliness protocols, etc. The answers that worked 6 months ago won't be enough with today's heightened sensitivities and the case studies of what worked and didn't with COVID's impact. What are you seeing around safety, duty of care, and COVID-related precautions?
Excellent question. Excellent comment / question, Sandra. So one of my clients that I work with has taken it upon themselves, very smartly, might I add, to create content around this very topic, duty of care and how they ensure safety and cleanliness and hygiene and all that stuff with their suppliers. And so what we do, just as an example, is as part of every executive summary that we put together or somewhere in the proposal where it fits best, we actually put in that content that they've crafted specifically on COVID-19 and the precautions that they take. The other thing to this is implementations. Some organizations, some RMCs and mobility providers have not been impacted by COVID-19 with regard to implementations because they figured out a creative way to still go ahead with implementation and not delay it. So I hope that answers your question, but absolutely. Content, my friends, in COVID-19, content is more important than ever. So take the time now, and I hope that you did before as well, when it was really at its peak, to get the word out about what your organization is doing to keep everybody safe, clients, employees, relocating employees, this is the right time to communicate with your clients. So make sure that you make time for that.
Now, when you're talking about content and you're putting the content into the RFP, are you talking about like video? Are you talking about articles? Like, you know, because we think of RFPs, right? I mean, it's like a PDF, right? I mean, that's typically what we think of. But is it more dynamic than that?
Yes. So this is just going back to the client example that I'm using. One of my RMC clients, they've created written communications from scratch on so because we've seen questions around what are you doing to manage the COVID-19 pandemic, and so they've created customized written from scratch written content that can go into proposals and other marketing materials. But there have also been white papers and articles that have been created specifically on this topic, and that is a way to engage with your audience, your prospects, your clients, their relocating employees. So it's both written communication from scratch, which is important because that's never been done in this kind of environment that we're currently living in, and also articles, brochures. You can even do videos. That's totally in that ball game. And so be creative. Don't just think about the written side of things. When we're having a conversation, you and I, Ben, live like this is a very effective way of getting the word out.
Yeah, I agree. I love the fact that you said videos. That's one thing I've never done an RFP. I think I do really nice RFPs. I take that back. I have hyperlinked to some videos before. So I mean, I love it. I love that idea. Nathan Brinker checking in. Let's go Blues there. Let's see. We got people checking in. Lynn Greenberg shouting you out there. Yep. Let's see here. Let's see if we go down here and let's look at what Martin has to say. Martin says, hi, Olivia. My favorite is when the RFP issuer asks you to review their policies top to bottom and give them a detailed critique and recommendation. So in your best effort to impress with superior thought leadership, we deliver, in effect, $5,000 to $10,000 of free consulting advice, for which they say, thank you very much. See you later. And they get the same from 9 other experts. That's a great business to be in if you're them.
Martin, you hit it right on the nail. Like I couldn't agree more. And a lot of times you do see this in RFPs. They have a whole, and Martin knows this because I've worked with Martin on different projects. They will have specific sections in the RFP, very lengthy sections on consulting services. And they want to know everything. You know, they just want to get a sense for what you do, how you're going to do it, who is going to be involved, what are the dedicated resources. They even ask for resumes of the consulting team. Yes, really, really detailed, specific information.
That's a little bit in my pants right there. I don't know about that. That's a little personal, isn't it? I mean, come on now.
Right. And so that's what we have to. Yes, absolutely. That's what we have to be strategic around, how we respond to these kinds of questions, and how much information we're willing to delve into. So Martin knows what he's talking about.
I've heard some companies, just while we're beating the drum over here, there's automotive companies, large automotive companies here in Detroit, and one of them asked a temp housing company to open their books and show them how much they were making on the business.
Wow.
To which they then said, no, you're not allowed to make that. We're taking this back and you can keep that over there. And it was, I mean,
some clients want everything for nothing in return. And so that's why, again, when you're looking at those RFPs that land on your desk, really be strategic and ask hard questions and be critical, of the opportunity.
Oh, love it. Let's see. Graham says, I feel you, Ben. That is so annoying to not get the courtesy of a response. Good topic today. We got a great guest today. We've got another 20 minutes to answer your questions, so please leave them. Nicole Barilli says, I've had decisions made based on questions not even included in the RFP. What's that about? How are you going to do that? That's that's dirty pool. I mean, you can't just put stuff in after the fact and say, okay, answer this 50-page document. Oh, but okay, never mind. I like the color of their logo. We're going with them. I mean, is there any recourse to any of this bad behavior? I mean, what do you do?
I love that you're saying that, Ben, because I don't think there's enough accountability and not enough criticism that we put on clients and their expectations. So a relationship business relationship, personal relationship is a two-way street.
It's a two-way street.
It's a two-way street. It has to be mutually beneficial for both parties. If an organization, if an RMC is investing resources, time, implementation, all of this important stuff, right, into a relationship, but they're getting nothing or very minimal effort or minimal cooperation from the client, do you want to work with that kind of client? You want to be all in. You want to be all in when you work with clients. It's not about the quantity of clients that you have. It's about the quality.
And the profitability.
Well, that's important, of course.
Simon Johns, I've received RFPs out of the blue. I've emailed my contact and asked to meet the team to understand them and what they want, etc. The answer has been, don't contact me directly, contact purchasing, etc.
Right.
That's a red flag to me, and I suspect it's just a benchmarking. Yeah. Yeah. From now on, you're going to read the questions, okay? From now on. No, that's a great point. And I've had this happen to me as well, Olivia, where, somebody said, here's an RFP. Oh gosh, I remember this. Large manufacturing company said, here's a big office relocation RFP for our services all over the country, right? I'm like, oh, sweet. And I said, but then my boss said, yeah, we got that every 5 years for the last 20 years, and good luck with that one. And I said, well, ma'am, sir, I don't respond to RFPs unless I have at least had a chance to understand the needs, why you're going to bid, and who's involved in the process. So I'd like to come down and meet your team. Like, oh, no, that's not really what we do. Just respond to these questions. I'm like, I'm not going to respond, because they need you to respond. They need to have 5 respondees or 3 or 10 or whatever their number is. They have to have that number. So by doing what Simon's saying and holding back, I'm not going to respond until we have an opportunity to meet face to face. And by the way, I think that's a reasonable expectation if you're truly considering me. I think he's got some levers there. What are your thoughts, Olivia?
I completely agree. And one thing that I see with larger organizations that are very structured, manufacturing organizations, you mentioned oil and gas, really large tech companies, they will leverage their supply chain teams as like, how should I say this, like a gatekeeper. We're not going to let you in the door until we get this information from you. And that really sucks. Let's be honest, because it doesn't give you the opportunity to get the information that you need to really understand the client's needs. Supply chain from that perspective, when they're conducting an RFP, they look at what I like to talk to you about, mandatory requirements. So there's 2 things that they look for: mandatory requirements and rated requirements. Mandatory requirements means that you must meet certain expectations of an RFP or for the service delivery portion. Rated requirements, that's where you can have more of a conversation with the stakeholders in the mobility team. So when I'm talking about rated requirements, I'm thinking about strategic, value-driven responses, right?
Whereas so kind of like the more qualitative versus quantitative answers.
Yes.
Instead of the multiple choice or short answer, these are the long answer responses.
Yes, and and with mandatory requirements, you have to think about whether or not you cross the check mark, right? Okay. Can they do this? Do they have the global presence in these countries? Can they source new suppliers in XYZ location? So when supply chain is involved, it's more around, being strategic is always important in any RFP, but mandatory requirements is usually your first pass. If you don't meet the mandatory requirements, you've just wasted your time.
Yeah, right. And so are there some mandatory requirements that you would advise that you're seeing that are prominently featured in these RFPs that they're like, hey, you better be checking these boxes, because if you're not checking these boxes, you're not getting around to?
Yeah, that's a good question, Ben. So it really varies because every client has a different need, right? But what I often see is things around key performance indicators and service delivery, service level agreements. A global footprint is a big one that I've seen where they want somebody on site, particularly for the larger organizations. Service delivery, they all talk about kind of the same thing in terms of like, ensuring an excellent client experience and attaining a certain amount of a statistic on satisfaction surveys. So it varies, but metrics are very important in the overall scheme of things. So mandatory requirements, I typically see something that is very numbers driven, because the other components, like as I said, global footprint or other things they will vary from client to client.
Love it. Let's see here. We got some more comments coming in. Sandra Clary, biggest challenges are either incomplete needs assessment or administrative gatekeepers who can't and don't understand the business need and yet are precluding ability to make contact with anyone else to flesh out the, oh gosh, this is so annoying.
So true.
This is what I would tell you. Never negotiate with someone who cannot say yes.
Yes.
Don't even go down the path. Because once you indulge that, to my point earlier, they get to check their box saying, yes, I've had a conversation with so-and-so. But if they're not positioned or able and enabled or empowered to say yes and move you on to the next phase in the discussion, then to me, it's an exercise in futility. And I hate it. I hate it. It bothers me so much. Let's see here. Tammy says the amount of data requested in a short time period without the ability to add a narrative behind the data. Then they eliminate you within 2 days and you wonder how they reviewed all the data giving equal consideration.
Spot on. Absolutely. What's that saying? You get what you give.
Yeah.
You give us 2 days to respond to something. What do you expect? That we're going to create magic and provide you with an exceptional proposal? No, you're going to get a data dump of content, which you're not going to want to see. And it's not going to show the value of that RMC or mobility service provider. So that's why I keep saying that a business relationship is very much a two-way street. It has to be mutually beneficial for both parties.
Now, my corporate mobility friends out there, and I'm thinking about my good buddy Jack Champel right now, because he and I have talked a lot about RFPs. And, I don't want to make this about dumping on our corporate clients, right? And saying, oh, they're so bad, we're so great, they're so unfair, woe is us, right? I want to be fair, So I guess my question would be, are we giving them a fair shake? Is there something we should be thinking or keeping in mind about their job, whether it's the purchasing person, whether it's the global mobility manager, the HR total rewards person, whoever it is there something we should be thinking about, the role that they're in and maybe the challenges that they face, and maybe something that might make us a bit more empathetic towards their
I love that question. I think my first thought comes to evaluate the questions that are being asked, first of all, because there's always meaning behind every single question. And so go beyond just responding to the question. Offer value behind what you as an organization can do to satisfy those requirements. Remember, we were talking about the before state and after state. With an RFP, they're trying to solve an issue. They have a challenge, right? They want to most of them anyway, want to outsource this function of mobility to an organization, as I said, an RMC or mobility service provider who's capable, not only capable, but can actually provide consistent value time after time, whether it's through cost savings, through ROI, through increased employee retention. So always try to understand the meaning behind the questions that are being asked in an RFP, because they're asking those questions for a reason. They're not just there just because. Sometimes they are, but in more instances than not, they're asking because they're trying to understand. They want to determine if you as an organization has what it takes and more to be able to deliver the value that it is that they need. So you're making their lives easier by supplementing responses with information. Provide stats, provide case studies, which I love to talk about. Let's talk
about case studies, okay? Because I think case studies are amazing and terrible at the same time.
Yes,
They
they
are
can.
both. It is the best of marketing and the worst of marketing all at the same time, depending
Yeah.
on how you execute it. So tell me about how to execute amazing case studies.
Case studies, yes. So I often tell my clients that when they're prospecting clients, don't just use your sales brochures. Don't use your marketing material. Don't use a one pager. Don't use a presentation deck. Please don't do that.
Here,
Or if
buy
you do,
something. Buy something. Here, buy something.
right.
Like, that doesn't work.
Exactly, because it screams, I'm desperate. I want your business. Here's all the reasons why my company is great. Don't do that. Or if you do decide to do that, augment those documents with a case study that is specific to the industry of that prospect or client. So if you're prospecting an oil and gas client, make sure that you have a case study that reflects that. So one of the approaches that I use when I create a framework for case studies for my clients is I use a three-pronged approach.
Okay.
I look at what the challenge is, the client's challenge. What is the solution that the RMC or mobility provider can deliver? And third, what are the results? What are the results that the RMC or the mobility service provider was able to deliver for that client? And you can weave in testimonials, you can weave in satisfaction rates, complement your document. And this goes for any document, by the way, whether it's an RFP or case study. Complement it with images, my friends, graphics, images, not just text, because that does not work.
And
that
how about
overwhelms everybody.
Yeah, how about real images too, not stock photos?
Yes.
How about like real images?
Ideally, if you can provide images of your team or customized icons, images, that's where design comes in. And I'm not a design expert by any means, but I know and understand the value and the importance in balancing your documents with written communications and visuals.
Yep, 100%. What is the difference, in your opinion? What is the difference in the way that it plays between a case study and a brochure or a capability statement, as we might say?
Right. I see a case study as a more customized, more specific way to prospect clients, because a brochure, like, okay, so what? Everybody has a brochure. It's usually a document that has capabilities and maybe some differentiators. But a lot of times I see this again, Ben, in our industry, it seems like a lot of the RMCs and mobility providers have the same type of services and the same sort of unique value differentiators. No, they're very actually specific. And so when we talk about unique, they're not actually unique. They're actually all the same from what I've seen.
They're generic.
Very generic.
What somebody in marketing did is they got hired and they said, well, who are our biggest competitors? They went, they downloaded their capability statement, they changed the logo, they changed the name, they changed the font color, and then they put in their own specs. And then they said, okay, well, here's your capability statement. I've done that. I know what that is. When you talk about a case study, what I love about it is it's a story. And it starts with a problem and it ends with a solution, and you're in the middle, right? And I love the fact that you're talking about these case studies. What I'd love to see people do is I'd love to see companies sit down and actually do a video case study, like interview. Like, Olivia, you're my client. We met 3 years ago. What was your problem then? Well, our problem was we had problems with this plan over here and this thing over here and blah, blah, and assignment failure rates and blah, blah, blah. Great. How did our team help? Well, your team, because now you're combining testimonials, right?
Correct.
First person account, right? And now they're vouching for you, and they're at a company who's a client who's actually willing to like say so. Now, a lot of clients won't go on camera, or they won't make an official statement or whatever, but they might do it in private. Something for internal use, right? And then bang out like a little 5-minute, 3-minute little case study video. And people love video compared to like a
Absolutely.
PDF.
Oh, yes. Yeah. It's much more of an engaging way of delivering your information. Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's see here. We got a comment here on let's see, LinkedIn from Sandra Corona. Reaching out to your company's marketing department will give you a better understanding and how to present to the clients. They know what the clients need to see to keep them engaged.
Yes.
Let's see here. Let's see. Simon Johns, the perfect RFP is when you know the client and understand their needs. They say an RFP is coming out. It's simple and based on what we know about your company and what we want. That's why you're invited to bid. Yep. Yeah,
Perfect.
getting upstream
Absolutely.
and helping. Getting upstream and helping people write RFPs, I think, is like my number one tip, probably. Let's see here. Theodora says, for those of us who are located on the West Coast that can't attend this extremely valuable forums, have you thought about recording interviews? Yes, these are recorded on YouTube and Facebook. Yolanda, that's so true. Worldwide area coverage is a huge topic. Pre-move in checklist seems to be getting more important. I spent hours on RFP and received no feedback. I had to chase the client nonstop and was told you didn't tick all the boxes. Oh, that's brutal. All right, I want to. There's another topic here that I wanted to talk about really quickly here, and I want to give people like tactical tips because so many of us like tips and tricks, right? And they love hacks, right? So I want to talk about proofreading hacks because I'll tell you what, I've read a lot and I've written a couple of some of abysmal copy. Okay, abysmal copy. So give us some proofreading hacks for people.
I love this topic because I myself have made many mistakes, and I will be the first one to admit it. And we learn best from our mistakes, right?
Yeah.
One tip, let me start with this first one. If I'm the proposal writer, or Ben, you're taking the charge on putting together a proposal, please don't proofread it yourself. Have somebody else proofread it for you. It can be someone in your department that understands and has a good catch, or has a good eye for that stuff, to catch stuff. But please don't proofread it yourself. If you do decide to proofread it yourself, please wait a day. So let's say you're finally ready to submit your RFP. You're a day early, which is fantastic. That's what we want. Internal deadlines are fabulous. But wait, your eyes are tired. My eyes are tired. I've looked at this document for hours on end. It's very difficult for me to spot little errors. And we all do it because we're human. We're not robots. So wait a day in between. The second tip I would like to give you is if you're proofreading your own documents, social media posts, any kind of written communications, even your email communications, my friends, because I see them, and you do need to proofread them to ensure that you're responding.
I see them.
I see them. Please take it upon yourself to read your response or your document from back to front. You know why?
Backwards? So you're saying backwards? Read it backwards?
Sorry, not backwards. So
front to back?
Yes. Okay. So back to front. Sorry, back to front. So we're looking at a document here. You see all my notes?
Yes.
That's how you can tell I'm in communications, right? Because I just write constantly. So I would start from down here.
I want to proofread that. I want to proofread that right now and see how it is.
So I would start here. Right at the bottom, because your brain is not used to reading that way. When you're in sequence and you're just reading like you typically do, your brain will not catch errors.
Because it skips words, because we don't realize it. We skip letters in words and we assume the words and we skip words in sentences.
All the time. Yes, absolutely. The other one I would say is, well, so I talked about the first two, right? The other proofreading hack is have somebody outside of your organization completely, maybe a friend, someone trusted that can look at it and give you a second opinion. Because even though the content may be correct, you actually may be missing something. So when you're reviewing or proofreading, you have to look at it from two perspectives. Look at it from a grammatical standpoint and look at it from a content standpoint. So with RFPs, right? If you're about to submit an RFP, what if you have a client name in there? Because I've seen that happen. I've done it myself. We're all guilty of it, right? Or
I've done that so many times. Oh my gosh. It's like, oh, I made this just for you. Oh yeah, that's my last customer. But they bought also. Here you go. I'm sure you'll like it.
Yeah. Or some kind of content that isn't lined up to, maybe you have an RFP for an oil and gas client, but then you have somewhere in the executive summary that says, financial services client. I had
a proposal come across our desk from a marketing firm that told us that they were going to make us the market leader in Detroit for all moving companies, and in the contract it had our competitor across the street's name in it.
Yikes.
And I'm like, how are you going to make us both the market leader in Detroit?
Yeah.
So we immediately use that for a 20% discount on the services.
Love it. That is important, my friends. Any kind of proofread, any kind of documents that you have, whether, as I said, email communication, RFP, case study, white papers, whatever it is, please take the time to review, because those layer errors, they will come up and you will look pretty incompetent. And you don't want to do that after all the time that you've spent.
Well, I love asking somebody outside the organization to read it, because then it's like, okay, do you understand what I'm talking about? Because a lot of times we use jargon, we use acronyms, we use our own little words and stuff, and they don't understand what you're talking about. So you're dealing with somebody that might be purchasing global mobility services, and they don't know what an RMC is sometimes, right? And because they're just not in that mode, or I might be selling household goods moves, HHG, to somebody in HR, and they're like, what's HHG, right? It's like,
that's why it drives me crazy when I see acronyms, because don't assume that your reader is familiar with your corporate jargon. Corporate jargon is not favorable. Maybe informally, you know, when we're having a conversation live, then that's a different situation. But in your written communications, if you do want to use abbreviations, spell it out first, my friends, and then put it in brackets.
Love it, love it. We've got a couple of points here and stuff. You know, Anka says, I'd say one problem that suppliers face with RFP is getting enough information from the reload to understand the client's pain points. We can offer the best info when we can understand not just what they want, but why their expectations in general. I can always answer an RFP, but the more I understand, the more I can help the reload sell and explain it.
Spot on. Absolutely.
Oh, here you go, Elena. Almost missed you. The biggest challenge I faced is getting an RFP, but the sender isn't available to answer questions or make clarifications.
Yes. And, you know, a lot of times RMCs and our other mobility service providers, they do want to ask questions, but if you're not offering a Q&A period, that's a problem, because you have an opportunity to identify some questions that will either help you decide to pursue the opportunity or just say, you know what, I'm done with this.
Yep. Sandra Clary comes up with a great way to kind of put a bow on this and says, your statement about selling benefits made me think of the adage I saw earlier this week: don't show me the palm tree, show me the dates.
Yes. Actions.
That's it. That's it. Let's see here. And Elena always beats me over the head too for stupid stuff like this. Please don't misspell the company or the contact's name. When I was on the corporate side, this happens so much. Also, don't shorten names without doing your research first. So people are like, hey, Elle, what's going on, Elle? How you doing? Elena, she's probably, okay, goodbye. That's funny. That's funny. Somebody in my boss's name, her name is Elise. And people write Elsie all the time who are trying to call her, and she's just automatic delete. So this is fantastic. You know, Olivia, these are such great tips. Everybody is just really eating this up. Lena loves it. Tammy loves it. You know, I think this is one of the the most popular sessions we've had this in the last couple of weeks. Because it's so practical for all of our service providers out there, and let's face it, there's a lot of service providers out there. And so I want to just, as we kind of wrap up, I want to give you the opportunity to maybe leave us with a final thought that people should know as they're in. Going into maybe the second RFP season of 2020, any final thoughts you'd like to leave us with?
I have more than one. Absolutely have more than one, but I know we don't have all the time in the world. Maybe we can do this again at some point, but I would say, when you're responding to an RFP, since most of our discussion has been on RFPs, when you're responding to an RFP, the deadliest sin that I've seen is that you don't focus on your client's objectives, your client's goals. You have to do that. If you don't do that, you're not going to be successful. You're not going to make it to the presentation stage. So yes, grammar is important. Responding to the questions is important, but always think about going above and beyond what's asked of you. That's very important. So when you align your solution with the client's needs, that's when your prospect or client will see the real value that you can provide. So if I can just close off with one, I would say that's the big one, is focus on your client's objectives and goals and determine how your solution aligns with theirs.
I love it. I love it. And when I think about it, it's an RFP, it's a request for proposal. And I think about when I proposed to my wife, it wasn't about why I'm so great. It's about why I loved her so much.
Correct.
And I think that when we write our RFPs, we need to remember to tell our clients why we love them so much if we expect them to say yes.
Absolutely. It's not about you as the organization. It's about the clients. So keep the focus on your clients, not you as an organization.
That's it. Wonderful. Well, this has been lovely. Thank you, everybody who's chimed in with all the wonderful questions and comments. They've been phenomenal. This has been such a great show. If you've enjoyed this and you think other people might enjoy this, please reshare this on LinkedIn. Also, go ahead and subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Facebook. We do this every day. It's the only daily show in Relo. So thank you so much for joining us. Give Olivia a like on the way out. And Olivia, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for the opportunity. I had a great time.